Welcome to Platform Engineering Insights, the show where we explore the latest trends, challenges, and strategies in the world of cloud computing and enterprise IT. I'm your host Felician, and together with me is Rajit Krishnan, the CEO of Cloud Control. Today, we will be talking about the ROI on your infrastructure budget. So, 71% of organizations expect that their cloud spending will increase in the next few years. A research from PwC showed that 53% of enterprises are struggling to see the cloud ROI. 42% of CIOs and CTOs consider cloud waste one of their top challenges. And it takes 1 to 3 years. 1 to 3 years is the average payback period for a cloud investment. And that was shown by a research done by McKinsey. And to top it off, 63% of tech executives say that cloud cost optimization is key, just because it takes a tremendous amount of their budget. So all of these stats show that many tech leaders are struggling with their infrastructure. And yeah, it's not so easy to prove the ROI on the investment. So, Regit, does solid infrastructure directly translate into revenue? Or is it usually a cost center for big enterprises?
Yes. Thanks, Malaysian. So when it comes to investment, the way I look at that is, I know we covered a little bit, touched on it a little bit last time. You want to look at it from a technical debt standpoint. So you can still follow some of the things that we talked about last week, and I'll touch on some of those things, right? So what do you want to invest so that you'll get the best return of investment? So when you look at infrastructure, what we have seen is legacy systems add a lot of cost. Like, for example, if you have older systems that are not, cloud ready or cloud native, that's the starting point. That's, most companies burn a lot of money maintaining these legacy systems. When we talk about legacy systems, we are not talking just old mainframes and Unix systems. Even within cloud, there are older VMs sitting around, right, with older Linux versions. And maintaining this is a pain. For example, I've seen enterprises having to pay extra license fee for older Red Hat versions. So now fixing that now takes a priority, right? So that adds to your technical debt. Then the next part is the quick fixes. Whenever you think about a problem or come across a problem, and if you put together a quick fix, keep in mind that over a period of time that can cost you money, right? So that's a point of investment that you want to say, are there these quick? So you should have a process for these quick events to figure out what was done for some of the issues that you faced or some of the deadlines that you wanted to meet. What kind of quick fixes did you put, and how do you revisit them and fix them? So that's a good investment to have. And another thing is documentation. So we say that everything is code in the cloud. So making sure that that you have adequate training and and a system where all the code, it could be infrastructure as code, it could be your configuration, are actually well documented and ideally preserved or saved in Git. Then comes standardization. Now, if you investing in standardization is very important because cloud is a software-defined world. So, which means the more you spend on standardization, in the long run, the return of investment is higher. So, in a nutshell, identifying the right technical debt and investing it, and everyone has technical debt because nothing is ideal, right? So, you went through several iterations to get to a state where you are in today, and all those iterations might not be efficient. I'm sure it was not efficient. So identifying the technical debt and investing in the right areas will get you the best return of investment.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be a cost center, but at the same time you have to make those investments, to actually drive that ROI. But one thing that it's worth adding is that an inflexible infrastructure cannot scale to meet growing demands, and we've seen that the market wants more. Every business needs to upscale, and they just have to improve their operations. And the thing is that more often than not, maintaining an unreliable infrastructure requires more resources for troubleshooting, repairs, emergency fixes, and all of that brings your operating costs up. But these are just some of the downsides.
Right.
So
Now,
yeah,
so I want to add one point there in about you touched on the unreliable infrastructure, right? So, what is unreliable infrastructure, right? That's a question that comes up all the time, and how do you make it better, right? So, identifying the unreliable infrastructure, it's important to look at numbers. So, go with the numbers, right? So, how do you know your infrastructure is reliable or unreliable? Um, Put the right observability in place, right? And using the right observability, you'll be able to identify whether your SLAs have been met, whether your infrastructure is stable. So I would recommend starting with identifying when it comes to unreliable infrastructure. The first question is how do you determine it, and use a good observability tool or set of tools and go with the numbers. So I thought I'll just add that.
like you have to look at the numbers because you can't rely on your gut when it comes to technology. Like sometimes it can work, but it's better to trust your gut when it comes to people than to code, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, Regit, what are the costs of unreliable infrastructure? Like, what can happen if you can't rely on it?
So yeah, good question. So number one, right, when you have unreliable infrastructure, of course, you will spend your monthly bills cost for cloud might not be optimal, because you'll be bringing you'll be spending a lot of time and effort and resources to keep fixing things. That takes time, that takes money. Number two, I would always look for uh, client satisfaction, right? So you might lose. So when it comes to bad SLAs, it's going to reflect on your customers' viewpoint. So that's how do you put a price on it, right? So you want to look at a when you have unreliable infrastructure, the cost is one. Oh yeah, you're going to spend your resources, or your team is going to spend a lot of time. That's one. But the other side is also and the cloud resources. That's another burn. But the most important thing you want to look at is the user experience. And unsatisfied users, they're going to walk away. You will have damage control. So that's the part that you will be spending, or that's where you'll have the most loss.
Yeah. So, I will just say that everybody who's listening right now, because we are going live, if you have any comments, please leave them in the chat, and we will later get back to you to answer them, just because we are going on a short time here. But going back to the topic, like if you were to say like what are the key components of a reliable infrastructure, what has to be in place or who has to be in place to make sure that your infra serves your objectives and your goals?
So now, if you look at cloud today, the cloud infrastructure is pretty stable and resilient. I think we have seen that, but that doesn't mean that it's going to automatically come to you, because you still have to use this infrastructure, apply the right best practices. Now, what I always suggest is number one, automation. If your team members, if there is human interaction in the cloud in terms of day-to-day activities, you want to reduce that. So make it as automated as possible. Make it as self-service as possible. So your time to market is key. You can achieve the time to market, the faster time to market. While once the automation in place, you will be able to repeat the same things again and again. So that means if you know if you achieved a reliable deployment in the first cut, you can repeat that every time if you have automation in place. Now, one of the most important or most common ways to achieve that is to use GitOps. So we recommend most of our clients, all our clients today, we are using GitOps, which means pretty much everything that they do is self-service and it is done through Git. So it could be a code change, it could be configuration change, it could be scaling up and down, policies around networking, policies around load balancing. All that is sitting in Git. And when they want to make a change, you follow the Git based process where one team member would make the change, get it reviewed by one or more people, and then finally you merge onto a branch that is get pushed to the infrastructure. So that's the level of automation that you want to bring in. Number two, observability. Once you deploy it in any automated system, you need feedback. You need to see what is going on. So observability is key. Now, cloud providers or the hyperscalers, they give you some a really reasonable set of dashboards and data to look at. So in addition to that, bring in Prometheus and Grafana. Those are popular tools. Those are open source. They you can use it across multiple cloud providers. And using these observability, you can build a process around it. Like in Prometheus, for example, there is Alert Manager. What it does is it will look at your infrastructure constantly, look at the data coming from different and resource collection points, and it will alert you. Now, Alert Manager can also be coded so that when there is auto healing necessary or points at which you can automatically fix things, you'll be able to take care of that. Like, for example, when the load increases, if you want to, let's say there is a bad application or a bad application component that needs certain cleanups or restarts, you can code it. And you want to code it. You don't want people getting in and interfering with it, because that takes time. And there is anytime people interact with infrastructure, there is a chance of human error. So what you want to do is, automate everything, put observability so that you can look at real-time data and make decisions.
Yeah. And what kind of data do you want to look at primarily?
So the basic data that we always start with is the what we call as node level or VM level data, which is the performance. The basic unit that we in the cloud is a VM. So you look at the VM's performance. Its memory, its CPU, its networking, disk I/O, things like that. So that's where you start. Then you look at application level data. Like, for example, if you have a PostgreSQL running, there are Postgres exposes a lot of data that you can bring into Prometheus. Bring it into Prometheus, put Grafana in front of it, and then put Alert Manager to watch, apply some rules so that it can alert you when there is a problem. And this is possible in most of the open source projects like Postgres, OpenSearch, Mongo. They give you metrics that can be exposed to Prometheus. Definitely consume that. Make sure that you have a dashboard and alert manager hooked up. When it comes to application, let's say you have custom application. Prometheus has a really good API. You can expose your metrics, your custom metrics to Prometheus as well. And writing alert rules and Grafana charts on it, it's very, very easy. Do that, right? Expose application level metrics. Like, for example, if you are an application that is booking trades, you look at how much time each trade is taking and expose that, right? So whenever that number goes beyond a certain limit or threshold, program the alert manager to alert you. It's really easy to do that use case in today's world. It shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 days to implement, but that goes a long way.
Yeah. So let's say a tech executive is listening to us right now. He or she has to ensure that their infrastructure is prepared for that increased demand that is going to happen. Yeah, their growth strategy is working. More and more clients are being onboarded every day. Everything's going nicely, but yeah, they got a budget and they have to show the ROI on their investment. So if you were to advise them where to invest right now so they can see the ROI and prove it, where would you spend the money?
So when we look at prioritizing, so that goes back to prioritizing. Where do you get the biggest bang for the buck, right? So we can use the technical debt discussion that we did last week. So identify the low hanging fruits, right? So in most cases, I think we touched on it earlier. Unreliable infrastructure. If you think something is crashing, and if it's constantly needs attention, that's number one. Fix that. Then comes any other technical debt. And we talked about legacy systems. We talked about opportunities where you can improve because you did a quick fix. So look at to go through the technical debt evaluation, and that we have seen again and again with customers, analyzing the technical debt and going back in front of the customer or the business unit and saying, hey, here are the 5 things you can do, and here is the ROI. It's easily achievable, but you have to start with the technical debt. And I think unreliable infrastructure is in that top of the list.
Yeah, so don't make investments into a new shiny object, a new tool or something like that, but fix what's already there and what's not working to its fullest. Like if there is something working at 99% capacity, bring it to 100, just because that will give you a
Right.
better return. Yeah. So yeah, tech leaders, they usually know what they are doing. Like every person is smart. They are somehow they got into that position, and yeah, the thing is that every person someone sometimes gets tunnel vision, because when you're working on a project for a very long time, you can get obsessed with it, and yeah, you just don't see what's possible. And
Uh,
Rajit, like you are advising many businesses and have a different perspective, and you see what's happening. So what should people be aware of when making investments in their infrastructure?
So one way, I think, when we look at it from a technical debt perspective, right? See, we know that technical identifying the technical debt and prioritizing always helps, but how do you know, right? So it's always good to look at best practices. So having a reevaluation done, and we do this with all the time with customers. So when we approach a new customer, we always get to look at what they have done and give them our opinion about, hey, what are the best practices being followed already and what could be done to improve things. So have an evaluation done periodically, because one, cloud technology is changing and improving. So something that you did 2 years ago might be outdated today. There might be a better way to do it today, right? And it might not be as so. If you look at the last 5 to 10 years, there are a lot of improvements that came into the cloud world, which might not be a lot from an investment standpoint to switch over. So look at the low hanging fruit again. When you look at the gaps, reevaluate them, find the gaps, and see what you can do to identify the low hanging fruits.
Awesome. So it all comes back to the low hanging fruits.
Right.
Yeah. So
And there are many. That's the thing. So every account that we visited, there has always been technical debt we could solve in 3 months, with an ROI of say 6 months, right, and or 1 year. So that is very very common because the standards in cloud matured over a period of time. So originally people thought, hey, there is one way to do it because that was the um, initial stages of that particular service. Now today there is a different way to do it, right? So those gaps always cost you money. And
Yeah.
in the cloud, what we have seen is also a given service over a period of time can be run more efficiently with lower cost. In pretty much all the resources, we have seen that, all the services in the cloud. And another reason for that is also the competition among the main providers. They want to be cost effective. So right now, it has reached a point where most of the cloud vendors are making money out of technical debt. That's how they do it. Because if you're really efficient, it's a win-win situation. But when you have a technical debt, it's always favors the cloud provider. You pay, right?
Yeah.
So it's always important to have that efficiency, and to reach that win-win situation for both you and the cloud provider. You have to reevaluate and fix the technical debt.
Yeah. Like you see, I think that every department or every unit in the company should work with consultants, or yeah, just get someone from the outside to, yeah, let's say even once every 2 years, once every 3 years, to look at what you are doing, because over that time there has been something new, there is a new better way to approach things. And if you are staying in the same place for a period of time, you just, yeah, it's not that you don't see it, but sometimes you don't know how to implement it. And if you work with someone from the outside, they can, yeah, make that push and help you get the buy-in from, yeah, other stakeholders in the business. And in turn, this will not only elevate you, your business unit, but also the whole company. But you need to have someone who will, yeah, just help you with that, or get the, yeah, perspective from someone else in the company, because maybe there are other people who are thinking like you, and you just have to get together.
That's right. So in large enterprises, I've seen enterprises doing lunch and learn, lunch and discuss. So building a community within the company itself works, because they will have different ideas. They must have solved problems at different periods of the cloud journey. So they will have different perspectives. So even if you don't hire somebody from outside, for large enterprise, I've seen when people work together and share thoughts, that's a good start. It doesn't always happen, but wherever it happens, if you can implement that, that'll be great, because I've seen positive results just by forming a community and looking at uh, problems from different angles, right? So that's always good. Forming an internal community always works. If that is not possible, not everyone can do it. um, People, reach out to people like us. We are always ready to help you in terms of looking at what you have done, looking at the cost, the monthly bills, and figuring out what could be wrong, and then digging deeper and then giving you a good report after the assessment.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have any questions about, yeah, infrastructure, or would like to explore how our team can help you with, yeah, different kinds of your needs, leave a comment or message us on LinkedIn. You can find both me and Regit, yeah, on this platform. You can find the links in the description below. And yeah, thank you for joining us today. And till next time.
Thank you.